Welcome back to A Seat at the Table, where we keep things real here.
Super real.
Super real. It's just like family. Great discussions, great topics over food. We do edutainment, meaning education and entertainment. Meaning when you leave here, you're gonna stick your teeth on something that's great. And today is one of those days where we're gonna get your life together. Now, not your emotional life.
Damn right.
But that personal business life that you kind of put to the side in the closet, them bills you ain't really been paying. You're thinking about starting a business. You're thinking about, how do I get some type of credit? You a ghost, as they call it.
Make sure you in your bag, for real, for real.
For sure, for
Okay.
sure. Yes,
You got
sir.
my mans.
Yes, sir.
All right, so please help us welcome CEO of Safe Capital. He's had over $30 million in sales. He's marketed to over 100 million viewers. He was the #1 selling author on Amazon. He's also advised companies like Keep and Clean Fund. So please help us give a warm welcome to Jercori.
I'm super excited about this, man.
Yeah, I'm
This
ready to learn.
We need to understand the importance of credit, the importance of revenue, keeping more than you spend. I'm gonna give it to you.
All right. So also, we want to go ahead and plug your book right quick, right?
Yeah.
The Art of Selling is still available on Amazon.
Yeah, for sure.
So after you guys get all of this great knowledge, y'all can go in there and read that book. And in a few more months, we might have a movie coming out, a little documentary, a little course that you can get some more knowledge from. And those dates will be released soon. But welcome, Jercori, man. Appreciate you joining us. This is family, y'all. This is family, like we always do. We have real talk, real discussions, man. So go ahead and tell us, man, where you from, bro?
I was born in Athens, Georgia, but I lived a lot of my life in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh, okay.
And I just recently moved back to Atlanta about 8 years ago, 7 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us about your upbringing, man. Single parent, two-parent household, what do you do?
My upbringing, my parents they started out married, right? So, just going through school, and I used to get in a lot of trouble.
Gotcha.
Right, so I got in a lot of trouble, like not just regular trouble, I got into too much trouble, right? Starting in elementary school, and that kind of like catapulted into middle school and into high school, to the point where I remember being in 7th grade, and my 7th grade teacher telling me that I wasn't gonna make it to the 8th grade. And now being to the age that I am right now, it's just crazy that a teacher would even say something like that to a child.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But even though I was in trouble, it was to the point where I remember my 7th grade, first day of class, I was in a class with a teacher named Miss Draco. And I remember her saying when she was doing like the student count, or like, how the students had to introduce themselves, they'd get up, so, say a couple things about yourself, whatever you like. And then they got to me, and then she said, "What's your name?" I said, Jercori Freeman. She was like, "Oh, you're the infamous Jercori Freeman." And then that's how I knew like all the teachers was talking about me and like all the little meetings or whatever.
Already.
And
badass,
so and even back when I was 12 years old, that was like my first time going to jail. So just being in and out of that system, and then getting to 9th grade, getting kicked out of school. My parents got a divorce in 9th grade. Then I ended up continuing in high school. I was in the 12th grade and the 9th grade, which was crazy because I didn't care about school. So like I knew. I was probably one of the smartest kids in the class, but I didn't care about school because from a young age I always understood that just because this person is an adult doesn't mean they understand what's really going on out here in life. And now being an adult, like I really can say that a lot of people, don't matter if you're 25, 30, 35, 40, like you still don't know a lot about life. Like just seeing a lot of these 40-year-olds out here, how they move and shake. So yeah, just dealing with that kind of stuff when I was in school, and then I ended up graduating on time. Ended up working for a company called the J. Morrison Academy. You ever heard of a guy named J. Morrison?
J. Morris, real estate.
Yeah, ended up working with him. I was actually homeless at the time. Found a sales job working with him. It was the middle of the winter too. It was crazy because one time he had just he rented out like this school bus. And this was during the death of Alton Sterling, if you remember that.
Right.
When Alton Sterling, the guy who got shot down in Louisiana.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he basically rented out a school bus. He was saying, hey, anybody who wants to come and, protest the death of Alton Sterling, just meet us up here. This is when he just moved from New York to Atlanta. Meet us up here. And I was just trying to figure out a way out, just trying to figure out a way to
seize the opportunity.
Yeah, get into like, finance, get into real estate. I was, doing a lot of research on real estate, doing a lot of research on YouTube, doing a lot of research on Google, just trying to figure out how to really, make $1 million, to be honest.
Facts.
And
Right.
you
We all
know,
do.
a lot of people was pointing towards getting a mentor. So I was just trying to figure out, how can I get my mentor? How can I get my mentor? And I found him, and then he ended up actually moving to Atlanta. I was like, wow.
Oh, man.
And then he actually did a thing about the whole out in Sterling and said, hey, just you know, show up if you want to come. You know, just show up, and we're gonna take the bus down to Louisiana. We're gonna protest the death of Out in Sterling. So I showed up, met him. We flew down. I mean, no, we drove down on the bus to Louisiana. It was like a 12-hour trip. It was crazy. We got down to Louisiana. We met with like the Black Panthers. And which is crazy too, because you know when you meet the Black Panthers,
Yes,
they come
sir.
to you strapped up. You know they
Strapped
got the
up.
shotguns on their
Yes,
back.
sir.
They all militant. They got the suits on,
Yes,
the vest
sir.
on, and all this kind of stuff.
Yes,
So you know
sir.
just to see that in person was a little bit surreal. So I remember I'm gonna go into a little bit about the story.
Go ahead.
I remember once we met them, they had us do this training. Right.
Okay.
So like they, you know, before we actually went to the protest, they had us do the training. So we like, you know, all unison and everything, you know, just telling us like, hey, you know, when we go there, because we were supposed to go down to the penitentiary and do the protest at the penitentiary. So they was like, hey, you know, when we go there, you know, everybody's gonna be in alignment like this. They're gonna be doing that. You know, when this happens, that's gonna happen. When that happens, this is gonna happen. So you know, we just training or whatever. So we go down, we do the press conference at the Big H store. The Big H store is where Alvin Sterling got killed
Yes.
at.
Right.
So
yes.
after we do the press conference, then we go down to the penitentiary to protest the death of Alvin Sterling.
Facts.
So when we get down there, this is the crazy part. When we get down there, I remember it was just it's two sides. It was one side of the road that goes, you know, northbound, and then it was a median, and then it was the other side of the road that goes southbound, right?
Okay.
So everybody's on the northbound side of the road. It's literally like 300, 400 people out there, just ganged up, and you know, the news companies out there. Then the penitentiary starts noticing that people are coming. They start putting snipers on the wall. They bring the tanks out. They got police coming with, you know, big shields and like, you know, they marching or whatever. That's crazy to see in person, to see a real live tank in person with people on the top, to look up at the top of a building, you see a sniper, you know, scoping out and everything. Like, that's a surreal setting.
Like martial
and then
law.
I'm over here with an RBG flag on my back, looking like a target.
target.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I don't know what's gonna go down, but I know like I stick out like a sore thumb. So anyway, but that's just the type of person I am. Like, I'm the type of person, like, if I believe in something, I'm front line with it.
Yes, sir.
Right? So we on the front line. And before I even get on the front line, mind you this, if I say it's like 300, 400 people out there to protest the death of Alvin Sterling on this one street, they blocked off the whole street. So
Jeez.
the tanks is blocking off this side of the street, and then, you know, the cops is blocking off the other side of the street. So it's just the people versus the cops and the tanks, right? So as soon as the tanks came out, if it's 400 people out there, 380 people got to the side and pulled their phones out. They like, yo, we don't want nothing to do with this. You know what I'm saying? So they got to the side, they pulled their phones out, and they just started, you know, filming and putting stuff on Instagram, putting
Internet
stuff on this and
warriors.
all this kind of stuff.
Got it.
And I remember the cops, they lined up with their shields out. They lined up, they kind of, you know, got side by side, they lined up with their shields out. Remember, I got the flag on me. You know, I got it over my head. It's big
Right,
flag, you know, just same size as a human. And I'm just like, I remember being like, if I'm right here, the cops are like right here. And I just remember just walking just straight ahead, you know, with the flag. And I just remember out of nowhere, Crystal, she's the leader of the new Black Panther Party. And I just remember, you know, she has the intercom out. She's saying her whole 1-2, hey, you guys are slave catchers, blah, 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 blah. And I just remember out of nowhere, a cop rushed her. So when a cop rushed her, another member of the Black Panther Party, they're like, you know, grabbing her. So they're doing like this whole tug of war moment going on. The cop is grabbing her this way. The guy from the Black Panther Party is grabbing her this way. And then out of nowhere, his shotgun dropped on the ground. And all I'm thinking, I'm like, oh shit. Like,
Ricochet is like it's a rap. Like,
yo, everybody started shooting. That's all
Somebody
I'm thinking.
gonna
start.
So as soon as they start doing that, a scuffle just broke out. So as soon as the scuffle just broke out, you know, I start hearing like feet just move around me. So, you know, I turn around, I'm looking like, I'm like, yo, what's going on? And then, long story short, they ended up arresting a lot of people. I ended up bailing off. Me and Jay, we ended up bailing off. We ended up, that's why I really mess with the people of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. There's some good people. Because people who didn't even know us, they said, yo, y'all come over here. They took us to this hideaway spot, which was this house. These people who didn't know us So for one, a person who didn't know us let us get in their car and they took us to a hideaway house. To another person who didn't know us said, hey, you know it's good, you guys can stay on my porch and just wait this out. Then another person who didn't know us, they came up with another van and said, hey, you guys can get my van and take you guys to wherever you need to go. Now we had a safe spot, a safe haven to, you know, if anything ever happened to anybody, everybody would meet up at this spot. So we ended up taking the van to the safe haven. And, you know, we ended up leaving that whole situation. It was crazy. But after that, I stayed in contact with Jay, and he had me come on to shadow him, right? Nice. So, you know, just shadowing him, just doing, just seeing him do everything he does, from going to news meetings to going to, you know, different radio shows, to just seeing how he operates a multi-million-dollar company. And I'm just really just soaking all this game up, right? To the point to where I ended up becoming an actual sales associate. So I was with the company when they was just making a little bit around $5,000 a month.
Wow.
Right? And I just started really immersing myself into sales. Like I ended up buying a sales course. Okay. This sales course was with Grant Cardone. If you guys ever heard of Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone is like one of the leading sales industry leaders with sales. And I just immersed myself into the world of sales, just really learned it, really got good at it. I remember making my first $2,000 check, made a $4,000 check, then I made an $8,000 check, then I made an $11,000 check, then I made my first $20,000 check. And at the time I was homeless. Remember, I was staying in Bankhead in an abandoned house in the middle of the winter. So when I got those first few checks, I remember going straight from Bankhead all the way to Buckhead. So for those who don't know, Bankhead is probably is zone 1. It's probably one of the worst areas in Atlanta, and then went straight from Bankhead to the richest part, the most affluent part of Atlanta. So all that was surreal for me. That happened within a year.
Like a dream.
So just from working, you know, over there, over the years, was there for like 3-4 years, then went off to do my own thing, which was with Safe Capital, which we focus on business funding, which helps people leverage their credit profile to get an unsecured line of credit. Unsecured line of credit meaning you don't have to secure with anything. You don't got to secure with real estate. You don't got to secure it with, you know, a car. You don't got to secure it with jewelry. You don't got to secure with anything. It's unsecured. So you're basically saying that, hey, because my credit profile is okay, not good, not great, because it's okay, then I should be able to get up to $250,000 up to $450,000 in funding, right? Okay. So that's what we focus on. Plus, we have a credit repair department, and I've dabbled and dabbled in other industries too, like music and printing and different types of industries.
Printing. Interesting.
Yeah. 250,000. That's interesting.
That's very interesting. Yeah.
You said 250,000. I'm in my head like, wait a minute. You said 250. That's $250,000.
So that means you can sell
anything. How can I get that?
He sells printing. He sold printing. Printing is almost dead.
Yeah.
You understand?
For sure. Printing.
So, and then $250,000 credit line. So let's say, prime example, I'm tired of working at my job, right? And I want to start a small business.
Yeah.
For everybody at home,
because everybody hates this 9 to 5, right, or you know, they just want to do their own thing and be their own boss, quote unquote, right? Yeah. So now, if I'm starting out, right, what would you suggest I do first? What's the first thing I should do to try to acquire some capital to even like start? If I have a 401k or something like that, what should I do?
Yeah. Well, the first thing, it's kind of like it's a twofold question, because for one, I always say, first thing you got to do is work on the inner before you can work on the outer. So you really got to understand in your mind, you really got to have knowledge yourself.
Yes, sir.
I guarantee you, any multimillionaire, any billionaire, 100,000-aire, whatever the case may be, to some degree they have knowledge of self. And then of course, the more money that you get, I'm almost sure that they have more knowledge of self than the people under them, right? So you really got to understand your value, because a lot of the people who and that's not something to necessarily feel down about, not understanding your value, because it happens to all of us, especially like in this Western world. You know, that's just a product. Like it was engineered to be like that. You know what I mean? Like it's what they call a rat race. It's engineered for us to not understand our value, so that we can, you know, live in the working class and do the things that everybody else does.
Facts.
Right. So that's not necessarily feel bad about. Like you know, it was programmed for you to actually be like that.
Yes, sir.
But like you gotta work on yourself. You gotta understand your value. You gotta understand that anything that you literally, this is not like just cliche, anything that you literally put your mind through to, you can actually accomplish, right? Absolutely. Once you understand that, then the next thing you gotta do is you gotta become financial literate. Because if you don't know, then you don't know. You know what you know, and you don't know what you don't know, right?
Facts.
So if you don't understand wealth strategies, if you don't understand wealth habits, then how can you actually get out there and start doing it, right? So once you do gain this knowledge of self, or self mastery is what we like to call it too as well. Then educate yourself. Figure out what you want to do. Figure out what your big bodacious goals are. That's one thing that you got to do. Aim for the moon, because even if you get halfway, you still made it from this earth, right? You get what I'm saying? So you still made it very far. So figure out what you want to do. Figure out what your passion is, which is not that hard. A lot of people can say it's kind of confusing to figure out what your passion is, but just really think about the things that you always think about, the things that you always wanted to do as a kid, and those carry along to you as an adult. Right. Think about those things and then actually go for those things, right?
So that it doesn't feel like working, correct?
Yeah, so it doesn't feel like working, because which it's kind of funny, because it's nothing wrong with doing something that you're not necessarily passionate about. Okay. If your goal is to get the money and then take the money and invest it into something that you're passionate about, gotcha. There's nothing wrong with that at all, right? But you're going to be, further ahead if you can start out doing something that you're passionate about, because you're going to like doing that more than you like doing something that you're not passionate about. So when the obstacles come and the objections come, which they are going to come, it's going to be more easier for you to persist and persevere through those things, because this is something that you're passionate about. When somebody's telling you that you can't do something, and it's something that you're going to do irregardless, like you do this shit for free if you really wanted to, then it's easier for you to persevere, as opposed if you didn't want to do something like that, it's like, damn, Or another thing that happens to a lot of people is, and we was just talking about this, is like you'll meet somebody and this person is killing it in the real estate space. And you're like, man, I want to do real estate. Then you meet another person, he killing it in credit space. You're like, man, I want to start a credit repair company. You meet another person, he killing it as a motivation speaker. Like, man, I want to be a motivation. And then like you kind of get this analysis paralysis, because you want to do this, you want to do this, you see this. Like you got to really find, this is something that I had a problem with at first. It's because my mind is always just like, just working. Like I'm just all, it's like a gift and a curse, right? Yep. So I want to do so many things, like I can, but it's like you got to really just focus on this one thing, blow it up, and then you can go on to the next thing. So educate yourself on something, right? Once you educate yourself on something, then you got to get your credit right, because your credit is like a report card. So it's like when you were back in school, right? And I don't know about you, but if you got good grades, then your parents rewarded you. Yes. Right? If you got bad grades, then they're like, nah, we ain't getting you none of this stuff you asked for. Matter of fact, let me get your phone. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly. So, just things like that. So the same way that your parents would reward you for a good credit, a good progress report, is the same way that creditor is going to reward you for a good credit profile. So if you got your credit profile in position, they're going to give you the loans. They're going to give you the unsecured line of credit, because there's a difference between the business loan and unsecured line of credit. They're going to give you those things if your credit suggests that you deserve those things. So you got to make sure that your credit is in position to get those things. So that would be the first two things I tell you to worry about, is to make sure that you understand self-mastery, and then second, make sure your credit is in position. Okay. And also to educate yourself, of course, on whatever it is that you want to invest in.
Okay. Question. All right, so look. Yeah. You said a breathful. Yeah. A whole mouthful. Yeah. And I'm listening to you. Yeah. All right. When did you realize, you said you know what you know, and you don't know what you don't know. Mm-hmm. When did you realize what you know now? How old were you when you realized this is what I need to focus on? Credit, capital, understanding the business. What triggered in your head to be like, look, let me start worrying about what the world is worried about. Mm-hmm. What looks good. Social media, the world is flossing, whatever it is that interests you. When did you say, look, business is business. Yeah. This is what I need to know. What clicked in your head to be like, I need to get my business in order?
Yeah, the first time I did that is when I just blew through my first 100,000, because I noticed that $100,000 is not any money at all.
That's a lot of money to me. Yeah. The average person at home, 100,000.
Well, it's all relative, right? That's another thing. It's all relative. Absolutely. It all depends on what type of lifestyle you want to live. For sure. But when you break it down and you understand that, let's say if you started $100,000, right? 29% of that, 30%, 40%, whatever the case, is going to go to taxes. So you know, you're gonna really be making like $70,000, right? And then you got to understand if you got that type of lifestyle where you're making $100,000 a month, you're gonna want to live in a decent place. So let's say in the city of Atlanta.
Hold on now, listen, all you 100,000ers out there. Wait a minute now, you said a lot.
Did you catch 100,000 a month though?
100,000 turned into
Oh, you said a year. Okay, I said a month. I was like, whoop. Okay.
It turned into 7,000 in 2 seconds. So
Taxes.
run that back.
Yeah.
Taxes. How important is taxes? Pay attention.
Oh, bro, like taxes is everything. And this is another thing I want to say because being an entrepreneur and you know, starting multiple businesses is something that all entrepreneurs deal with. And you know, if you really got to discipline yourself. That's another thing. Discipline is the most quintessential thing to starting a business is discipline. You got to discipline yourself. You know, that's to not even just starting a business, to anything in life, right? Just
Discipline
anything.
is key.
Discipline is key, right? So we're starting a business though, in relations to taxes. It's like you have to pay your taxes, but most entrepreneurs have back taxes. A lot of entrepreneurs, they start businesses and they don't pay their taxes for the first 3 years, right? You know, so you ask them, hey, you know, have you paid your taxes? You got your W-2s? Nah, I haven't paid taxes in like 3 years. What's going to happen to me? A lot of people aren't even educated in taxes, which is why, you know, we got this whole platform, which we'll talk about later.
Yes.
That's going to help people out with that. But a lot of people aren't even educated in taxes, but taxes are essential. You got to pay your taxes. It's the law. You know what I'm saying? As much as, you know, nobody likes it, right? And, you know, everybody can disagree with it, but at the end of the day, it's the law. Like, you know, until the laws get changed, like, this is what you got to do. You got to abide by the laws of the land.
Exactly. Uncle
Get
Sam
what I'm
got
saying?
to get his.
Yeah, Uncle Sam got to get his because essentially it's like a platform, right? If you going on to a platform and that platform is helping you get money, that platform is going to take a piece of that money.
Exactly.
It's the same. It's the same, you know, thing with America. Like, can I cuss on here?
Yeah, cuss, man. Talk that shit. Talk that shit. Get in their head. Let's get it, man. We at the table. You at home, bro.
Yeah.
Listen, I want
Talk
to
your
know.
shit. This is real. This for the motherfucker with 2 cents trying to make it happen right now, bro. We giving you free game, man. This is what City Table's about. We want you to be yourself. You know what I mean? If we feel like it's too rough and rugged, we're gonna polish it up when we edit the shit. But at the same time, bro, you gotta keep it funky like your daddy feet and leather sandals, bro. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, my daddy feet was crazy.
Exactly, man. Everybody daddy feet got that little gnarl to it. You know what I mean? But
You ain't never.
He ain't never taking socks off him.
never did. Exactly, bro. See, putting up sheets. That's like me right now. I had to go fix this up when I get home.
That 100,000 turned into 70,000. I'm trying to figure out how to get. I just want 50. So for the man at home trying to figure it out, continue.
Yeah, so make sure you pay your taxes because it's important. And if you don't pay your taxes, then you can't get locked up for it. Or like, you know, that's going to put you into a whole bunch of debt, you know, 3-4 years down the road because you're accruing penalties for all the unpaid taxes that you don't pay. So, you know, you may be living a lot of people are living a life and they're not paying their taxes. That's another thing. So you may see people, you know, they got this, they got that, they do it, but you know they're not paying taxes on the money that they getting, so they really don't got the money that they using. They really using borrowed money at the same time. But that's a whole nother story. So taxes is a big part of it, right?
No, tell that shit. This is all the story. Let them know.
After taxes, now you got to focus on like a place to live. Let's say, for instance, you're making $100,000 a month. I would say on average that somebody making $100,000 a month, you're probably gonna be paying about $2,000 in rent. So if you're paying about $2,000 in rent, that's $24,000 a year. So you take that $24,000, then you subtract that by the $70,000. So you're going to be at what, $56,000 right now. Absolutely. So you started at $100,000. We haven't even gotten to anything. We just talking about your living expenses at this point in taxes. Now you already took that $100,000 and you cut that into $56,000. Plus you got your utilities, right? You know, your cell phone bill, your internet bill, your car note, your insurance, like all this stuff. That's another what, $10,000, $20,000.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So let's say you at, you know, $34,000, right? Then you got miscellaneous fees. You never know if somebody could die. You never know if you get in a car accident. You never know.
Stressed, want to take a trip.
Right, you might be stressed. You want to take a trip. You know, you never know if you gotta take care of a medical expense. Whatever the case. Let's say that's another $10,000, right? So now you're at $34,000. It's so many different fees, and then let's say you want to invest your money, right? How much money you think it take to actually invest in and make it worth an investment?
I'm gonna say 10 grand.
10 grand. What you think you can turn 10 grand into?
10 grand, IRA, 7 years. We talking about Power 7 money, depending on if you got Charles Schwab or whatever.
Let me say this. So 10 grand, right? Let's take 10 grand. If you take 10 grand and you put it into a savings account, how much you getting in the savings account?
I don't even know. Tell me.
0.125 is the max if you with Ali.
Wait
You
a
getting
minute.
like
Wait, hold on, wait.
.000.
But I'm saying, if you go with Ali, it's 0.125. Y'all look at that, but point.
1.25?
If you go with Ali, it's online, but that makes it hard for you to get
I don't know
something
this.
shit like
So
that.
tell the world.
So if you go with Ali, they got a 0.125. Okay.
Let's take 1.25. That's,
Right.
I mean, you
That's
know,
not a bit. It's not a lot still. So
what's
just save your money.
1% of 10,000?
1% of 10,000 is $1,000. Oh, so I'm sorry, $100.
It's $100.
Yeah,
So
it's
if you're making
$100.
$100 over a year, what is that?
Shit,
You know what I mean?
that's gas money.
No,
That's
no,
gas
no.
money. Gotta go to work, get some food.
Yep.
Now let's say
Shit.
let's say you go to you know, Merrill Lynch or something like that, and these people with the slick hair and, you know, the suits on, they tell you,
Greaseballs.
hey man, you know, park your money into a CD, and you know that CD is going to make you 3% of your money
That's not
on
even
$10,000. What you making?
nothing.
What's 3%?
3% of 10,000
What,
is
$30?
3,000. Yeah.
$3?
You said 3% or you said 30? You said 10%? What'd you say?
3%.
Oh, that's $300. $300.
right?
I'm sorry.
It's $300 on $10,000.
Which
Is
is
that
bad-
an
bad
investment that you want to make?
Hell no.
No, that's not an investment that you want to make. So you're going to have to, with $10,000, you're going to have to know, it's going to be a couple things, right? One, you're going to have to know what you're doing.
Absolutely.
You're going to have to be well educated, or you're going to have somebody who's well educated on your team
Facts.
to actually help you invest that $10,000, right? And then on top of that, you're going to have a high risk tolerance, because for that $10,000 to actually make you something worth making,
Facts.
you know, over these years, it's going to have to be an aggressive investment that's going to have a lot of risk involved into it,
Absolutely.
right? That's going to, you know, potentially make you 60% on
Yes.
that money,
Yes.
or a 400% on that money, whatever
Yes.
the case may be.
Facts.
So it's like, you know, when you got a little bit of money like that, your options to invest aren't really great. You
At
know what I
all.
mean? It's not really too much, because remember, just as much as something can go right in investment, things can go wrong in
wrong.
investment.
Yes,
and more so
absolutely.
they go wrong in
Yes.
investments, because a lot of
Yes.
people don't know what they invested their money in, right?
Uh-huh.
And we haven't even talked about like the fact that people got to pay for clothes, people got to pay for food.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? People got to pay for you know, a
Kids,
lifestyle that they're
like,
trying
yeah.
to live. You know, going out. Like, yo, I can go out and have dinner, and I'm spending $100 on dinner.
Easy.
What if I want to go
Easy.
out 5 times a night? That's $500.
$500.
You know how
I
much
like
money I spend on
appetizers.
takeout? You know, so
Uber Eats.
so 100.
Yeah.
When you really break it down and you really look at it, $100,000 isn't a lot of money when you
Shit.
really look at it.
Facts.
That's why people. The first thing people should be focused on is generating income. That's
Right.
the first thing people should be focusing on, is generating income. What can you do to really take the money that you got right now and 10x it?
Okay, so what are some good investments you would suggest doing now with like their 401k? They may have 10,000, 20,000. Where should they start delving that money into? Start spacing it out.
Unknowledgeable.
Right. So like if I got 10 grand, even 20 grand, right? Where would I put
Okay.
that? Go ahead.
Yeah.
I got something after you.
Yeah, so it really depends on the type of person you are. So the first thing I would want to say, you always want to invest the money into yourself. You always want to bet on yourself, right? Because yourself, you know what you are willing to do and what you can accomplish, which is anything, truly, if you understand yourself, right? If you have that first thing which you talk about, which is knowledge yourself, you know that you can accomplish anything that you put your mind to. So I will always say, invest that money back into yourself. And then the money that you make from that, always put that money back into the street. Don't take if you invest $10,000 and you make $15,000, don't go spend $2,500.
Absolutely.
No,
Right.
put that money, put the whole $15,000 right back, and then make more money. If you just made $5,000 off the $10,000, go back and make $10,000 off $15,000.
$15,000,
You know what I
yes,
mean?
sir.
And just keep on flipping that until you
Right.
get to the point where you want to get to.
So it's like
Question.
trapping.
How do you discipline the undisciplined person? Because I spend frivolously.
Really?
Okay, I'm bad at it.
Okay.
Now, the world is not very good at being very meticulous with money.
Yeah,
I'm gonna piggyback off of that. What would you do with someone who saved? Because I save, and I mean, people saying you save, and do I need to do forex? Like, what I need to do? Because it's just
Right.
sitting there. It's not gaining
Right.
nothing. Just
Yeah,
sitting.
yeah. Which goes
Which
into
is I'm not complaining, but
Right, which goes into what I was talking about educating yourself, right? Just making sure that whatever you are invested in, you're educated on it. Don't passive invest, because passive investing is basically just saying, you know, passive investing where you just give your money to somebody and then they're
Whatever
just,
sounds
Yeah.
good.
you know,
Yeah.
Charles Schwab. I
Somebody
got
says-
tricked like that too. That's why I brought that up.
yeah. When you
Charles
passive
Schwab,
invest,
yeah.
you're giving your money
Yeah.
to somebody and then they're going to invest the money for you.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So you're really like in the pity of this person. Like, you know, they can mess the money up or they can do right by the money, but you don't know what's going to happen with the money. You're
Right.
just hoping that they do the right thing with the money.
Exactly.
So when you educate yourself and then you're making an educated investment, you lower the risk of the things that can happen. Or you know, if you passively invest with somebody who you know is doing the right thing, that's a whole nother thing. But you know, it's a gray area that you got to just understand, right? So what I would say is, if you are saving and you got some money to invest, is to educate yourself on different investment vehicles. But educate yourself on an investment vehicle that's going to work. Like, let's say for instance, real estate. Real estate is probably one of the most lucrative, if not the most lucrative investment vehicle in the history of the planet. Because this whole earth is just one big ball of real estate. Like everywhere you go, you always going to be on real estate. This building that we in is on real estate. When we drive out this building, we're going to be on a road that's controlled. It's real estate, right? Somebody owns the road, right? So everything is one big ball of real estate. So as long as you buy right, which is buy under market value, you can never go wrong in real estate. It don't matter if the market collapses. It don't matter because you're buying real estate. So it's just understanding the investment vehicle that you're using. Things like Forex, it can work if you understand how to work Forex, right? And if you have a certain amount of risk tolerance, or if the coach has a certain amount of risk tolerance and understands how to operate Forex.
Quickly, what is Forex?
So Forex is the foreign exchange market where you can go and you can
Foreign exchange, Forex.
Yeah,
All
exactly.
Right,
yeah, and you can go and trade different currencies online.
Euros, yen,
All right.
all that good stuff.
We got 5 minutes, by the way.
5? Okay. All right.
So, how would you? What are some? Do you know any financial literacy books that you recommend? Because I do want to be more financially literate. I just don't know where to start. Like, do I need to read Rich Dad Poor Dad?
What do you do?
Like,
Even if
because I read
a book, what do you do?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm more of a course guy. I got a library of books. So of course, which is funny, because it's a lot of people's first books is Rich Dad Poor Dad. It was actually my first.
That's what I'm saying.
That was my first book. But that's just great marketing. That's just great marketing.
Great marketing.
Oh, okay, but it ain't nothing I need to go
Great
buy.
marketing. Okay.
But no, he does teach you, basics of, understanding like the financial literacy. Understanding the difference between assets and liabilities. You know what I mean? So it's definitely going to get you to understand the different basics. But you want to have a course that gives you a more in-depth overview of something, or whatever it is that you're looking to get into, whether it's real estate, foreign exchange, credit, whatever it is. You want to have an in-depth overview of something, and not just an in-depth overview. It's something that's going to give you, it's going to tell you about it, but also actionable steps to show you, okay, now you know this. This is what you need to do next. You need to go here, and then you need to do this. Then you need to turn this in over here. Then you need to turn that in over there. So you always want to have 2 actionable steps. That's why a mentor is essential, right? So that's to answer your question. It would be having a mentor, somebody who can guide you throughout the process and make sure that somebody who can mitigate your risk, right? So somebody who can see the pothole because they already hit the pothole and say, hey, don't do this because this is going to happen and this is what you need to do. So is getting a mentor, right? And it's a lot of ways that you can get a mentor without having to come out your pocket, right?
You gonna be my mentor?
Of course. I have no problem.
He's
doing
on
that.
camera, all right? Jercori,
I might have to
my man.
borrow too. Remember that course is coming out too.
Help.
you
A lot of
guys.
that helped them.
You know what I'm
Offer that
saying?
course.
Share it.
A quick question. All right. So everybody does credit's key. All right. You don't want to be out here as a ghost. You don't want to be out here with bad credit. How do you feel about Credit Karma? Because everybody uses it. Right? Y'all use it.
I'll be on the credit card.
And
Faithful.
I used to use it until
checked it today.
we did your thing, right?
Cool.
So how do you feel about Credit Karma? Is that accurate? Like, just how do you feel about that? What should we look out for? with that?
Not for long.
Yeah, so Credit Karma is good. I'm gonna tell you why it's good first.
Okay.
So it's good first because it actually does report your actual accounts that's on your credit profile.
Okay.
Which is good because you can see, what's reporting on your credit profile, what's negative on your credit profile, and it also reports more often than these other credit bureaus like Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. It's going to report more often as you would get your free credit report with each one of those credit, which Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, those are the 3 credit bureaus for those who don't know. But you would get those every 30 days unless you pay the extra fee because all these credit furnishers, which they are, they're just getting paid to report the information on you, right? So you could pay them like $29 a month, right? And they would give you access to all 3 of your credit bureaus where you can see how many inquiries you have gotten, hard inquiries, right? How many collection accounts do you have? How many late payments do you have? Do you have any public records like tax liens or bankruptcies, right? All this information you can get from these sites. But the difference between Experian.com, which is one of the 3 major credit bureaus, and the CreditKarma.com is that credit is the type of model that they use, right? So the thing about Credit Karma is Credit Karma, they use the Vantage report,
That's what it
right?
is.
So the Vantage report is not an accurate version of your credit profile because of the way that they simulate their actual scores. Now, a site like Experian, Equifax, or TransUnion, they use the actual FICO score, the Fair Isaac Corporation score, right? And this is what 99% of mortgage companies use. They use the actual FICO score because the FICO score is going to give you a more accurate and updated version of your credit profile. So that's why if you ever go with a reputable credit company, they're going to tell you to go with either Experian, Equifax, or TransUnion, Credit Check Total, something like that, because they're going to give you your FICO score instead of going with Credit Karma, because Credit Karma is free and they're giving you access to your credit profile for free. Right, because they use the Vantage report, and Credit Karma could tell you that your score is 720 when it's really like a 670.
Yes.
Right, or it could tell you that it's 680 when it's really like a 610.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So that's the difference between Credit Karma and something like Experian.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
That is awful.
That's fucked up.
Free game, free jewels, like I said before.
Right, free
man.
game.
It's always
free
gonna be
food,
here.
free
Yeah.
jewels.
Free jewels,
Pay
that's what it
attention.
is. That's it,
Credit
man.
Karma now, okay?
Okay.
You
Yeah.
said, Trent, which one to give
Yeah,
you
so you got
accurate?
the three major credit bureaus. You got Experian, you got Equifax, and you got TransUnion.
Okay, now.
And they make up your
Pay
FICO
attention.
score.
All three of those matter. Don't
Absolutely.
just worry about that Credit Karma. Might not be
I'm faithful to
accurate.
Credit Karma.
Yeah.
I
So,
use Credit
That's
Karma
mine.
daily.
Yeah.
See, that's what people need to understand. Like, you have to understand the difference. You
Yeah.
know what really matters and
Yeah.
what really is going to help you get to the next level.
Yeah.
You can't just
Speaking
go
on
off of-
speaking on that, I tell you guys a couple things too that can really help you get your credit profile in position. Let's say, let's take the person who don't have anything negative reporting on their credit profile. A couple things that you can do right off the bat to boost your credit profile, beef it up, strengthen it. Right.
Let's go.
I'm gonna tell you three websites actually. So one website is myjewelersclub.com. Myjewelersclub.com. You can go to myjewelersclub.com. You can apply, and you could get literally a $5,000 line of credit reporting across all three credit bureaus. For $100. All you got to do is just pay $100, buy something off their website. They're going to send it to you, whatever it is, like a pair of earrings, an electronic, or whatever the case may be, and they'll extend you a $5,000 line of credit that's going to report as total credit on your credit profile. It's going to report as a line of credit on your credit profile, which is going to essentially boost your credit score up, which I'll tell you how in a second. On your credit profile, right? NewCoastDirect.com. They do the same thing, except New Coast Direct, they only report to two credit bureaus. They only report to TransUnion, Equifax. They don't report to Experian, right? So if you do NewCoastDirect.com and MyJewelersClub.com, there's $10,000 in revolving credit reporting on your credit profile. Plus, the next thing you want to do, you're going to want to build payment history, right? So you can go to a website called selflender.com, and you can actually lend money to yourself while also building your payment history up. And I'm gonna tell you why that's important. And that's gonna report on your credit profile across all three credit bureaus. So you got your credit profile, right? You got your credit score, right? So when it comes to your credit score, the lowest score that you can get is a 300, right? And the highest score you can get is an 850. So that means there's 550 points in the middle, which you can either gain and lose, right? Now, a lot of people don't understand this, but your credit score is broken down into 5 parts. You got the biggest part, which is going to be 35% of your credit profile, which is payment history, which accounts for 192.5 points or 192.5 points goes to payment history. Because all credit is just your ability to make payments over time, right? That's all credit is, just your ability to make payments over time. So once we understand this, we make sure that we don't get any late payments, because one late payment can decrease your credit score up to 100+ points.
Absolutely.
Now, the next part of your credit profile is going to be your credit utilization. Right? So credit utilization is an easy concept. If you got, let's say you got a car that has a $1,000 limit on it, right? If you use $300, then your credit utilization is at 30%, because it's a $1,000 limit, you use $300, you got $700 left, 30% credit card utilization. Now, anytime that your credit card utilization goes above 30%, it's going to negatively impact your credit profile, right? You never want your credit card utilization to go above 30% unless you absolutely have to, but you shouldn't have to, right? So the next thing outside of credit card utilization is going to be your credit card length, right? So that's going to account for 15% of your credit profile. Now I'm going to tell you how to calculate your credit card length, right? So credit card length is simple. So let's say you got 3 cards. You had one card for 10 years, the second card for 10 years, and the third card for 10 years, right? That's 30 years of total credit history. Now, since you got 30 years of total credit history, you're going to divide that by the number of cards that you have. So you divide that, in this case, by 3. So that would make your average age of file or average age of history 10 years, right? So I always say you always want to have at least 5+ years of average age of file, because that's what bankers are looking for. They're going to want to look for somebody who's had credit for, a good amount of years, right? Because they're going to trust them to lend credit, to lend certain amounts of lines of credit to them because they've shown throughout the years that they've been responsible with their credit, right? So that's 15% of your credit profile. The next, which is 10%, is going to go towards new credit. New credit is going to be how many inquiries you got. So with inquiries, you got hard inquiries and you got soft inquiries, right? A soft inquiry is not going to show up in your credit report. A hard inquiry will show up on your credit report. I always say, not even just me, but you don't want to have no more than 3 inquiries per credit bureau, or else it's going to start to negatively impact your credit profile. Plus, you want to have no more than 2 inquiries within the last 24 months too, or else you need to go to a credit repair company, have them remove the inquiries off your credit report so your credit profile can score can go up, right?
So let me ask you this right quick.
Yeah.
I don't mean to cut you off.
Yeah.
A hard inquiry.
Yeah.
How can that happen? Right.
So,
So like going for a car or something, or what you talking about?
Yeah, which is a great point.
Okay, right.
So I'm gonna answer that separately. So inquiry is simply when you try to acquire credit. So if you go apply for an Apple Watch, that's an inquiry. If you go apply for iPhone, that's an inquiry. Whenever you go apply for any type of credit, that's going to be an inquiry on your credit report, unless you ask them, hey, is this going to be a hard pull or a soft pull? And that's a strategy that a lot of people use, because a lot of people say, well, if it's not going to be a soft pull, I'm not going to pull it. But if it's going to be a soft pull that's not going to show up on your credit profile, I do it. Now, to go back to what he said, if you go to a car company, just the model that they work off of, a car company is going to try to shop your credit information off to multiple creditors, right? Multiple lenders. So instead of just accruing 1 to 2 to 3 inquiries, you'll probably accrue up to 30 to 40 inquiries just with going to a car dealership one time. The best thing to do when you're looking to apply for a car is to go to a bank first and to, like, say for instance, your bank is Navy Federal. You want to go to Navy Federal when you're going to say, hey, I'm looking to apply for a car. They're going to say, okay, how much money are you looking to spend? You say $25,000. Okay, well, can you approve me based off my credit for this $25,000? They approve you for the $25,000. They write you a $25,000 check. You take that $25,000 check to the car dealership, and now instead of getting inquiries on your credit report, you have a $25,000 check, and you can look for the type of car that you want within that price range, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what you want to do. And then the final 10% is going to go towards mixed credit, right? So mixed credit is the simple fact that you got 2 types of credit, right? You know what the 2 types are?
2 types of credit. Nope.
Equifax and Cash App.
No.
Yeah.
I'm listening.
Man. I'm sure there's a business credit and a personal credit, right? Is it business credit and personal credit?
Nah, it's 2 types of credit. Y'all know what 2 types of credit is?
No. Put us on game, because I'm definitely learning.
Please, enlighten
So
me,
I'm
sir.
sure y'all heard of it. So the 2 types of credit is installment credit,
Okay.
right?
Installment
Where you pay in
credit.
installments, right?
Yeah, when you
Listen now.
when you pay in installments.
Right.
And what was the other type?
If it's not installment credits, that's where I'm lost at, because I only know of installment credits, right? Because like
Do you
in the
have any
car
form
you
of
pay it
credit?
in. I do. Like I
You
got
got
a
a credit
gold card, yeah. So what is that called then?
It's called revolving credit.
Revolving credit, where it's always in and out.
Yeah.
So revolving is in and out.
The difference is installment credit is just set payments. Revolving credit is going to be based off what you use. So if you use $100, you pay back on $100. You use $200, you pay back on $200. With installment, it's installed payments. $100 every month. $100 this month, $100 next month.
Car note
And then you always want to have both types of credit on your credit profile to strengthen your credit profile and get higher to that 850.
All right, cool. So we're gonna have to wrap this part up. This is part 1 with Jercori.
Man, that was a lot.
That was a
lot of
lot.
jewels, right?
I'm thankful.
That
I
was
hope
everything.
you guys
He wasn't even
hit
everything.
the rewind button. Okay? Hit
Because
the
I am.
rewind.
Yep.
I'm
Pay
finna watch my own
attention.
episode.
You need to understand
All right.
what this man just spoke to you.
And we just not touching the surface, y'all. So listen, part 2 coming soon. Y'all have a good Christmas. Remember, man, this is a seat at the table. We family, man. This is one of our family members. Also check out that book on Amazon. What's it called again?
Art of the Sale.
The Art of the Sale. And as you can see, this guy can sell, hey man, a fish and
so
water if
good.
you want to. You dig what I'm saying? So listen, until then, man, love, peace, and just be a good fucking person, man.
Man,
Be a
look,
good person.
understand credit.
Yes.
Pay attention.
Yes.
Know what you're spending.
Yes.
Know what's necessary and know what's not necessary. And budget.
Yep.
Cut it out. Take it from Jercori himself.
Sure.
This man is a very articulate person. He understands the business. He has books about this.
Yes.
Pay attention. Understand. Listen. Don't take any of
This
this.
is free knowledge. This is free game.
Free game.
Free game. You ain't have to
understanding. Like,
So y'all
take no
stay,
course for this. This is free
y'all
game.
stay tuned for part 2. We love y'all, and till the next time, peace.
Street Light Sounds.
Let's do this again. A little different this time. I told myself that money would never be a factor. Now I'm laughing at Benny Hanna's with benefactors. Sell my soul for an artist's love with them giant raptors. My chef cooking that steak and lobster on giant platters. Forsaking all I can for this path of master. Path to disaster and saved by the master. I'm hearing they laughter.